And welcome back to the Wellness Connection with Dr. McMinn and Misty, and we're here talking about sleep today. And so we were just kind of getting going on sleep hygiene, Misty.
Well, in my personal experience, you hit snooze, you don't get a good night's sleep, you can't fall asleep, you hit snooze, you're late for work, it's the dominoes you mentioned that are falling.
Yeah, right.
So what are some of the things that you can do to help get a good night's sleep?
Well, first of all, I think you want to avoid anything that's distracting you from sleep, such as certain medications, too much alcohol, antidepressants, beta blockers, caffeine, some diuretics, Dilantin, any stimulants like some of your ADD medications. All those can interfere with sleep, so you want to avoid those. And I really like the concept of what I call a mini vacation about an hour before bed. That is, turn off the TV, turn off the computer, just read a boring book, maybe light us a couple candles, turn the lights down a little bit. All those kind of things. Make sure you don't drink too much water right before bedtime.
That's the thing. What do you think the cutoff time? Because I hear women and men both say, well, I could sleep if I didn't have to get up and use the restroom the whole night. What do you think the cutoff time is for stopping drinking liquids?
Yeah, I wouldn't have too much water after dinner. You have something with your dinner, but then after that,
6 or 7 o'clock.
Kind of cool it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, smoking can be a stimulant, and you don't want to. Smoking is bad for many different things, including sleep. You don't want to use the bedroom for problem solving and doing work. You want to use the bedroom basically for sleeping and for intimacy. And take a hot bath. Sometimes people will find a good Epsom salt bath before bed can be very helpful. One thing I like a lot, Misty, is the concept of white noise. Putting a fan, air conditioner, and there is a product called Sleepmate, which I actually have one at home.
It's not one of those things that creates like the little frogs in the background.
Well, no, I don't have any frogs, but I have
and a running stream.
Right, you just hit a button and you can plug in a running stream or sea waves or that kind of thing. And so I like
to each his own.
I like the little wave thing. So anyway, but that kind of stuff. Keep the bedroom a little bit on the cool side. That can be helpful. As I said, keep the lights down low a little bit. Keep the room as dark as possible. I know some people kind of like to watch the TV at night when they sleep and keep that on after they go to bed. Can you imagine? And so keeping the bedroom dark. Getting regular exercise. I've had a lot of patients come back and tell me once they start getting exercise again, then they're sleeping better. You
think exercise at nighttime is okay? Because I know it's hard for me to get up in the morning and do it before work. So what about after, if you exercise too late in the day, do you think that could be, to keep you from getting a good night's sleep? Or
yes, I can. And it's different for different people. I find that I'm not a morning person as far as exercise.
I do have
to exercise in the evening. But I think for a lot of people, you don't want to exercise too close to bedtime.
To get those endorphins going.
Right, exactly. And also putting the clock out of reach and facing the clock away from you, because otherwise you wake up all night time and you look at what time it is.
I'm notorious for that. I roll over every hour and look, and then I think, oh gosh, I need to be asleep.
Right, exactly.
That's very frustrating.
Exactly. Sometimes people do well with a snack before bed, like a glass of milk, something like that.
What about a glass of wine?
Well, we talked about
not
that.
So much.
Well, not so much. Avoiding long naps in the daytime. Although I think naps are basically good for you, but if you take a really long nap, then it's going to be hard to get to.
You're talking about your 10-minute power nap, though.
That's right.
A lot of people can't do that. They want to do it a bit longer.
Yes. Try to keep the bedtime consistent. I think that if we're changing it all the time, then that could be a problem. Scheduling some relaxing activities before bedtime, like soft music, some deep breathing exercises, meditation, biofeedback, reading a boring book, that kind of thing. All that can be helpful.
So what about as far as, say, somebody is having trouble sleeping, they want to go to the health food store or the pharmacy. What are some of the natural things they can do to get a good night's sleep?
Yeah, there are all sorts of natural things we see, and we certainly have many of them at the shop. I think the thing we've probably been the most successful with is the contines, which is a GABA type of agent. It's kind of a special little agent called phenobute, which is a type of GABA, which then crosses the blood-brain barrier, increases your GABA and also your taurine, and can definitely help with a good night's sleep. We've had fabulous feedback from patients about that.
Well, and a Cavanase is something you're going to have to get from us at the clinic or the web store. You can go online and order that, or maybe I'm not sure if it's available commercially.
Well, it's available from doctors. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, physicians.
The 5-HTP can be very helpful. Of course, 5-HTP is your precursor for serotonin.
Yes, you
And
get a double
serotonin-
benefit from
That's
that.
right.
Exactly.
We had a patient just yesterday who came in. We put her on the 5-HTP because I felt it would help her sleep. It would help her with her sugar cravings.
And her mood.
And her mood, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you'll often find other things like irritable bowel and those kind of things go away with 5-HTP. So I really like the 5-HTP a lot. We've had good success with that. Your hormones can be very helpful with that, Misty, like the melatonin, we talked about that,
Yeah.
and the progesterone can help put you to sleep, and of course the estrogen. Of course, you know all these things have to be bioidentical hormones.
Right, of course.
There are some other natural supplements. The cortisol manager I found to be very helpful in some people, and there are certain herbs like passion flower, chamomile, and valerian.
Valerian, yeah,
I
that's
particularly
what I was
like
gonna-
valerian. I take
Yeah.
that most nights. And the L-theanine, and finally, as far as the natural supplements, the phosphatidylserine can be good, and the calcium magnesium supplement, which is especially good for the people with restless leg syndrome.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, those are a lot of things we just listed, Misty, and that speaks to the concept too of what I call trying on shoes. And what I mean by that
Everybody.
is like the shoes that fit Cinderella didn't fit her sisters.
Exactly.
And what I find with these sleep supplements is that you'll find that you could have somebody come in and you recommend a certain supplement, and she comes back and says, "Oh, thank you, Dr. McMinn.
That's
you're
the best thing
You're
ever."
the smartest doctor in the world. Thank you so much. I'm sleeping like a baby." And then the next patient will come in and you've put her on the exact same supplement, and she says, "Dr. McMinn, you son of a gun."
You gave me.
I was up
you gave me a
all night.
placebo.
Yes, with every possible side effect. My heart was pounding, and this, that, and the other. So the trick is sometimes you have to try to find this, that, and the other, and to find what works for you. And sometimes it may be a combination of things, and so
Yeah,
it takes a little experimentation.
That's what I kind of wanted to reiterate. You can't just expect to try the first thing and it work beautifully, and
That's
you
right.
may need 1, 2, or even 3 things to get you that good night's sleep, and each individual.
But I think the bottom line is that whatever it takes, and you
Right.
just have to stay after it, and just do not accept insomnia. We must find a way to get you a good night's sleep.
So, are there any other things you can do to promote good sleep?
Well, there are all sorts of things. Certainly, there are some sleep devices that we use. Like, for instance, the Neurofeedback can be very helpful, and I would recommend Linda Goldstein in town out in Cahaba Heights does a nice job on the Neurofeedback. The Biofeedback, I use that also myself quite often. I have a unit at home, and I'll do that before I go to bed.
What's the difference really in neurofeedback and biofeedback? I mean, I'm sure some people out there aren't really familiar
Sure.
with the concept of biofeedback.
Yeah, biofeedback is powerful. I think about biofeedback as what I call meditation on steroids, if
Like
you will.
guided.
Well, there's some guided stuff there, but basically it's a way for your mind to listen to your body.
Okay.
And so what happens inside your body, you have this little fight and flight thing going on with your excitatory neurotransmitters. And so what you can do is you can use biofeedback to actually hear that or see that. And you can see what's going on with your nervous system, and by understanding what's going on, you're better able to control it. So you use your imagery, your breathing, those kind of things to then calm down those excited neurotransmitters. It's very powerful. Now the neurofeedback, on the other hand, is and by the way, the biofeedback, you can get a unit and just do that at home. The one I have in the office and that I personally use is called the GSR2. The neurofeedback, on the other hand, is something that you'll have to go to their office and actually have a series of sessions in their office hooked up to a computer, and you get that sort of brain feedback that can definitely help with sleep. And welcome back once again to the Wellness Connection with Dr. McMinn and Misty. We're so glad to have you back, and we're talking this morning about sleep. And so, Misty, let's talk a little bit about sleep medications.
Yeah, I know you said each person had to find their own different thing, but what are some of your preferable sleep medications?
I think some of the most common ones used are the Xanax, I'd say, and the Ambien and Klonopin are probably the biggest ones. Also, your Elavil can be helpful, Doxepin, Lunesta, Trazodone, those are all pretty common ones.
Those in the benzodiazepine family, do you worry about addiction with those?
Yeah, you certainly do worry about addiction, and there are some benzos that will actually block your stage 4
Right.
REM, deep REM restorative sleep. It's all about getting that restorative sleep, that
Right.
deep sleep. And so, for instance, your Valium, Ativan, those kind of things can actually block that. Also, another thing that blocks that, Misty, is your Benadryl. So, for instance, all those people who take like Tylenol PM,
Tylenol
stuff
PM,
like that, I have a lot of patients
notorious,
who do that.
yeah.
Right. And so they can get to sleep and they feel like they've been sleeping, but they never wake up refreshed because they never got into that deep restorative
I think
sleep.
a lot of people take Tylenol PM or Advil PM or whatever, and they don't realize it is just actually acetaminophen or ibuprofen with Benadryl.
That's
that
right.
diphenhydramine
It's exactly
is
what it
actually Benadryl, and
Exactly.
people that can keep you from getting that good functional sleep. I hear all the time from patients that they get to sleep okay, but they wake up at 2 a.m., they're wide awake, they can't get back to sleep. What's going on with those people?
You know, Misty, I hear that all the time, too. You know, before I forget it, Misty, let me mention one other thing. What's on my mind? Acupuncture. I've had some people who had miracle cures with acupuncture with sleep. And so, of course, our Dr. Margot does that there in the sleep clinic. Our clinic. So you might want to check in with her on that. Anyway, as far as that waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning, I find probably the most common cause of that is the low estrogen. As a woman's going through menopause, you'll find that a lot. And so testing her hormones, and if they're low, using the bioidentical estrogen, especially I find a preparation that will be there in the morning at 2 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes they'll take their estrogen in the morning, but then by the middle of the night it's gone.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure they have it on board in the middle of the night, and that can help tremendously with that waking up at 2 in the morning.
I'd like to also make people aware that there is actually a test that we do at the clinic that you actually do when you are at that point, when you're having trouble either falling back to sleep or waking up and you are just wide awake. We can actually do a test to see what your brain chemicals, what your neurotransmitters are doing right at that moment, and hopefully correct it with something natural.
Yeah, that gives us a more targeted approach.
Yeah.
It looks at your epinephrine, norepinephrine, dopamine, serotonin, cortisols, all that kind of stuff right at that moment when you're waking up. And so that can be very helpful for us.
So what about the other patients who say they get to sleep, they stay asleep, but they always wake up feeling tired? I mean, what do you think's going on there? And are there any tests that you can do to find out why they're waking up tired?
Yeah, I think that also is a very common problem. I'd say the most common issue there is the sleep apnea, and that can be either obstructive or central. Adrenal fatigue can also cause that, and so we often do a sleep study on that, where we actually can wire them up and determine if they have sleep apnea. Two ways you can do that. You can go to a sleep center, but we actually have a very advanced device that we actually can send a patient home with, and they can do that in the comfort of their own home, very cost effectively.
And you know you're going to have a better really rested night's sleep or a better result from your test if you're in the comfort of your own home. You know, not in an unfamiliar place and with people monitoring you and watching what you're doing. I think. Adrenal fatigue, though, can you explain just a little bit more about what's going on with adrenal fatigue? Is that like when you just, you're going, and eventually your adrenal glands say, okay, I've had enough?
Yeah, they kind of call it the 21st century stress syndrome. All multitasking we're doing all the time. Eventually you just kind of burn out and you get that fatigue. You're kind of wired but tired all the time. Wonderful book on that called Adrenal Fatigue by Dr. James Wilson. I would highly recommend to people, and so that would tell you lots more about that. But before I do, I want to go back and wrap up on that sleep apnea a little bit, because I want people to know that it's really a big deal. In fact, it not only causes things like fatigue and irritability, but can actually lead to premature death and heart attacks. So it's really important, if there's any hint of sleep apnea, to get that tested, and because there are a lot of things you can do about that.
Well, I think people are under the misconception that you have to be overweight to have sleep apnea. Yeah, that's totally not true.
So if people have sleep apnea, then of course I think one of the most common therapies we use is a CPAP machine. But I do have a lot of patients who said they could absolutely possibly not do that.
I hear that a lot too. It's like a claustrophobic type reaction where you just cannot sleep with that thing on there.
I've definitely had some people who said, Doctor, this CPAP has changed my life, and they love it. They can't go anywhere without it. But sometimes just losing weight by itself it can cure the sleep apnea. The oral appliances can be quite helpful. There are appliances one could have custom fitted to actually advance your jaw and help open up the airway.
And that's just kind of to keep you from what is it when is it like the tongue falls back into the throat?
Correct.
So
it opens up the airway.
Okay.
Yeah. And there is actually a surgical procedure that could be done for that. And of course our friends Dr. Buddha and McCool down the street do that. They're very good at that. And I've had some patients who've responded quite well with that as well. And just elevating the head of the bed can be helpful, and a non-supine position, that is, don't sleep on your back. All those things can be helpful for sleep apnea.
So whatever it takes is the motto here. And the take-home message is, if you are having any of these problems, you can always give us a call at the clinic. And don't forget our resources that we have. We have wonderful resources on our webpage. That's McMinnClinic.com. We also have other things on Facebook that you can read and look at, and also the blog at Blogspot under Wellness Connection. There's always the YouTube channel where you can actually see the radio shows as we're recording them, and you can listen to them again if you need to. And also, you can feel free to call me. My number is 613-1875, or you can call the clinic and speak with someone else. The number there is 868-1313.